Welcome to Future Proof, Mike Butcher.
Pleasure.
I'm speaking today with Mike Butcher, who is the editor at large, because you're often not where you're meant to be in the context of London, which is home,
Editor at large is a roaming job.
at TechCrunch. And we're going to have a chat today about trends that you're observing with technology, and interested not only in the trends, but how you see this impacting society.
Well, you just want me to shoot the breeze?
Shoot the
Okay, well, the three big trends really are artificial intelligence, blockchain, and robotics. Those are three big ones. And robotics, when I say robotics, I mean autonomous cars. I'm talking about like autonomous systems and the marriage of hardware with AI. So those are, you could pick any other number of trends, sort of fintech or biotech, but they're all affected by AI, and increasingly many of them will be affected by blockchain technologies as well.
What are you observing in terms of who's kind of out there disrupting things? Interesting people that are kind of just coming out that you've observed, like someone who's disrupting in one of those spaces with some very interesting tech that perhaps the general population may not know about.
Well, all of these technologies are basically being used by corporates and then being used by entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
But certainly in blockchain, this is very early, right? It's almost like the mid-90s in terms of the industry. It's infrastructure. At this point, it's infrastructure. There are no real consumer applications in blockchain other than the one that you will have heard about called Bitcoin, which is a consumer cryptocurrency. Anyone can use Bitcoin, but that's crawling on the bottom of the ocean for that space. We're already familiar with the Amazon Echo and the Alexa, and AI is now the big battleground of the big technology companies. GAFTA, Google, Apple, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, and AI is really how they're going to be able to run their businesses in the future. It's also a war that's available, really, mainly, oddly enough, for the first time, only to biggest companies. It's very hard to be a startup in AI.
Because of the cost involved.
Costs involved, and it also requires huge data sets. So if you have to have vast amounts of data in order to apply your algorithms, and the people who have that data are the big ones, the big giants. You don't really start as an AI startup anymore, or it's quite rare. Now, if you can, it means you can maybe raise venture capital, but a lot of the time they get acquired. It's a huge talent war. Most of the smartest people in Europe have been hoovered up by DeepMind, which was the company that Google bought a few years ago. So that's a massive trend at the moment. Yeah.
What are you, I do a lot of work in the fear space, and we sat and had a conversation with a group of people the other night about, potentially technology evolving into a shared intelligence, a collective intelligence or a collective consciousness, which is, pretty confronting for a lot of people. So in the context of what you're seeing and where technology is going, what are the things that you fear around technology, or what's your biggest concerns in that space?
Well, I just don't think that there's this so-called collective intelligence or collective entity will exist. The issue is about ownership. And the ownership will be massive company like Google or Amazon. Amazon definitely wants to be an AI company now, because the more they can predict what you want, the more they can sell to you, and the more services they can provide for you. And it creates this sort of aura around what they do that will, supercharge their business. The thing about AI in particular is it creates an exponential effect on a business. Once you put AI into a business, you get to create an exponential effect on productivity, on output, and it's like a drug.
Yeah.
As soon as you've taken it on, there's no way you can
go back.
You can't go back. And effectively, AI weaponizes a business against every other competitor. It's an arms race at that point. And if you can't, in order to be able to stay in the game, your competitors must apply AI to their business as well, and on and on and on. So AI improves the product that you output, which means more money, and more data, which then feeds back into the business, and then you get the AI lock-in loop, where more money, more data creates a better AI, more money, more data, better AI, more money, more data,
so it
better
drives
AI.
the divide,
bang, 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 bang,
a
bang.
bigger divide between those who are up with it and those who potentially can't keep up. You know,
Yes.
the divide.
But an exponential. So whereas you used to be able to introduce a new technology into an industry, and it would give you an incremental bump, AI has an exponential effect from skyrocketing. Literally the J curve going straight up. So that's a massive effect on business and on society as well. It means that those of us who don't tap into these things will, if you think we were left behind before, you ain't seen nothing yet.
I'm going to take you on a different path now. You have done some amazing work with refugees and starting pretty much a global movement around supporting refugees in being able to thrive in the new communities in which they've integrated. So talk to us around the concept of tech refugees and how that started and why you're passionate about it.
Well, it was 2015. It was summer of 2015, and I could see what was going on in terms of the humanitarian disaster that was happening in the Mediterranean. People were dying, children were being washed up on beaches, and I just thought, this is crazy. It's the 21st century. This can't possibly be happening now. And I also noticed that they were using smartphones. Refugees from Syria in particular were using smartphones to communicate and access services or things that they could navigate their world. And I thought, well, the technology industry is good at problem solving, and it's good at problem solving at scale. And what we had on our doorstep was a problem that was a massive problem that needed scalable solutions. And in the past, most of the humanitarian responses are about chucking food and tents out of an aeroplane at 10,000 feet and then putting in some, distributing water bottles. And these solutions aren't scaled. There aren't scalable things. So I thought technology really should be part of the solutions, or at least try and help alleviate the suffering of these people, or help the NGOs and the charities who are dealing with them. And I didn't have the answers at all, but I thought we've got to be involved. I was walking along the street in London, I just was thinking, refugees, technology, refugees. Hold on a minute, tech refugees. I just put them together, put up a Facebook group, put up a Twitter account, and a small, simple website, and I just emailed everyone I knew and said, come and join me, let's go on this journey together and just try and figure out what we can do. Even if we figure out we can't do anything, at least that's a win.
Yeah.
And about 9 days later, I held the first Tech Refugees conference in London. We did a hackathon. It turns out that actually people were coming up with ideas about, for instance, how do you create an early warning system to protect women inside refugee camps and children? How do you distribute food and logistics better? And what you've got also is that NGOs and charities are using technologies that all traditional businesses use, but they're not the modern versions. They're still doing things on Excel spreadsheets. Yeah. They're still emailing each other when they should all be on Slack. They should, all those kinds of things. And it was also potentially a process for us to, give them access to 21st century ideas that they might not be aware of. It was actually, obviously, lots of people were having similar kinds of ideas. And it was actually a few months later that the UN, UNHCR and UNICEF both independently started to form their own innovation labs, but they hadn't at that point. And so I think there was a bit of a pressure from the community, and there was also pressure from the fact that they could actually maybe leverage some of this stuff. But Tech Refugees wasn't really about help, just being part of UNHCR or UN. It's actually about us as normal entrepreneurs, wherever we might be, whether it be Melbourne or London or Paris or a Greek island, being, with refugees washing up every day, that bringing our skills. And now what has happened is that we've done things like hackathons where you'll bring technologists together with refugees, you co-design solutions, or you come up with products that might employ people. And the reason why that's important is that this is about changing the conversation around refugees. Taking the word refugee and turning it into an entrepreneur, right? Instead of saying this person's going to be a drain on society, this person's going to contribute to society, and oh my God, not at just the level of coming in and contributing and having a job and flipping burgers or whatever, but at a high level, skilled jobs, skilled employment, skilled entrepreneurship. I'm not going to come into a country and take a job. I'm going to make a job, because that's what the country wants. And every country today, there's a dearth of people in the technology industry. There's a dearth of skills. The talent war is constant. So why are we leaving these people on the side of the road? Many of them, very often, skilled people from whatever context they were in before, but had to flee for their lives. And let's do that. And why would you not? And it changes the conversation politically as well. I can't get a politician to walk into a refugee camp and say we should give these people jobs, and not going to happen.
No.
I can get a politician to come to a TechFugees hackathon
Yeah.
and say, oh my God, let's give these people fundings for their businesses, and that changes the conversation, and it gives them the permission to change the conversation around refugees and the whole political conversation that unfortunately that we have to have.